was it?
I don't know the answer to that. You know, there was a lot of theater around the use of this MOAB, but I think it was an effective and proper use of it for a number of reasons. First of all, it killed only combatants, ISIS combatants. There were no civilians killed by it. It was used in a way to take out tunnels, places that would have been very difficult, as Captain Nash said, to send in U.S. troops to attack. And it had a great result in terms of killing a lot of ISIS fighters. So it was properly used. I don't know how many other times there were examples like that in Afghanistan where we could have used it. Probably there were, and maybe we'll use it again now. But in Afghanistan, the much more important question is, what are we going to do next? Afghanistan is in a quagmire. We have about 8,500 U.S. troops on the ground. Maybe we're going to increase the number of troops. I think that would be proper. But we also have to really focus on the training effort for the Afghan National Army. That has not gone so well.
Right.
So whereas, you know, Trump has done, you know, a huge strike, and there's a lot of press around it. But the more important questions are, what is the plan for pacifying Afghanistan, for defeating the Taliban and ISIS, and for strengthening the Afghan National Army so that they can do the security and they can do this battle?
That's the question throughout the Middle East with each of these countries. But Captain Nash, there's some scuttlebutt going around that the National Security Council now requesting that we do actually put more boots on the ground. In fact, there were some military experts who said that the use of the MOAB was amazing, and it might have been even better if we had followed it up with more offensive aggression. Rather than playing defense, it's a time for America to play offense, and even if it means putting more American troops in harm's way.
I think there has to be a strict political goal in mind before we do that, Charles. Taking out these ISIS clowns in an eastern province of Afghanistan is one thing. Negotiating with the Taliban is a completely different horse of a different color. So what's going to happen in the end, and nobody wants to hear this, but in the end, it's going to be the Afghan national government as we know it now and the Taliban coming to some kind of an agreement on the future governance of that country. And if not, it's going to be a perpetual state of war.
Rebecca, it seems like each of these countries in questions are going to have to be some form of strange bedfellows if we're ever going to get out of there.
That could be, but let's remember, we are on the offensive in Afghanistan. We flew 203 strike close air support sorties there just in March of 2017. We do have a very strong coalition of about 40 nations or more there, so we're going to keep working that problem. And Mattis, remember, Mattis on the ground in Afghanistan years ago, he really knows that territory, so he will be thinking about the strategy for what happens next.
But with all due respect, Rebecca, can we do this with air power alone?
No one's doing this with air power alone. So the MOAB strike, that's a combination of air power, special operations forces. Our Afghan allies are in there too. So it's a combined effort. Air power gives us that persistent surveillance to develop that target, and no ground troop there is ever without air power. It's always overhead and on call. And that's a very important strategic edge.
And probably the best edge of them all is that there's the decisive decision-making out of this White House, and it's got everyone on notice. Thank you all very much. Really appreciate it. Coming up, knowledge is power when